October was the month that happened, and naturally I read some books. So I'll try to quickly give you the rundown of them and what I thought and whatnot. First off, I'll start again with the ones I don't have physical copies of, just so I don't forget. But we firstly have The Dutch House by Anne Patchett, and I read this at my colleague Mary's recommendation. This is basically Mary's book of the year, so I had to read it. And I started this in September, finished it in October. It was very good. It's so rare that I read a suburban drama, basically, that's written by someone that's not Celeste Ng, that I enjoy. See last month's wrap-up. But this is a really touching and a really, really nicely and smartly and poignantly written, and I really fell for the characters, and there wasn't so much going on outside of them and the family circle to take away from their journeys. And there was this thing where the author would give you glimpses of different times in their stories, basically, through the main narrative thread, and jump forwards and backwards. But it wasn't confusing, and it didn't feel like a cop-out, and it actually did add to the story, because it's very much not about the end point, but about their journeys, and especially their emotional journeys, and it's beautiful. So you follow this family, as I said, that moves into a Dutch house. I know, and it's basically this really fancy, posh house that is so glamorous and so over the top that it doesn't feel like a place for living, and the mother left the family because of that, so you have to deal with the kids' lives after that happened, and it's just so smart, and I think it's the kind of story I would revisit, even though it's adult fiction. It's so rare, so I would highly recommend that. And it is out now, so that's handy. I also read a proof copy of Things We Say in the Dark by Kirsty Logan, and that's a collection of feminist dark horror short stories. I think I got about halfway through this and DNF'd it, sadly. There was some stories that really jumped out to me, and I don't know, I really liked them. But most of them just felt very meh and fell flat, and I feel like it's the kind of collection that you need to really pay attention and go, ooh, what did the author mean to say by this? And I just feel like I'm at the point where I appreciate smart writing, but also I don't want to fry my brain cells in an attempt to understand what I'm reading, So I did end up DNFing. I think part of that is because the book is split on parts and themes. So I reached the bit where it was just horror, baby related and birth related and motherhood related stories. And that's just something I don't really enjoy reading about. So yeah, not for me. You may enjoy it. It's very Angela Carter-esque, so if you're into that kind of stuff, I would say definitely give it a shot. But not for me. And now on to the physical books. That's much faster than usual. I read North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell for my 19th century novel module. And I'm pleased to say, I actually really enjoyed this. I saw someone on Goodreads describe it as Pride and Prejudice for socialists. I think I would agree, kind of. It basically follows a young lady named Margaret Hale who has to move with her family from the south of England to the industrial north, and it's quite the change, and it's really, really good. I listened to an audiobook of this because I was in a rush, so I was kind of switching between the physical copy and the audiobook. But it's one of my favorite classics, I have to say. I think it's highly underrated. I loved Margaret Hale as a protagonist and as a character, and I just think she's so well crafted, and reading some academic papers about her and whatnot, there are just so many ways you could interpret her character, and I find that fascinating, and it was strangely relatable in a way. I think it's got some wonderful social commentary when it comes to class and stuff. I will say, Elizabeth Gaskell writes amazing romantic angst, but her love interest basically has the charm of a wet sock and the morality of a wet sock, so, that's very sad. But this is fabulous and I would recommend it. Also, it's October, so I had to read a Diviners novel. I am up to date now. I read Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray. This is the third book in the Diviners series. I can't tell you much about it because it's, a sequel. But I will say this is one of my absolute favorite series of all time. I love it so much. I think this may be my favorite novel in the series, even though they're all equally fantastic. If you don't know, the series is set in 1920s New York, so it's got that jazz era charm and it's got slang and it's just so fun. And it follows a group of teenagers with superpowers, and it's got, again, fantastic social commentary. This novel is basically Libba Bray dramatically saying fuck America, and it's beautiful. It's got those themes of legacy and accountability, and it's a lot about what it means to be American and preconceptions about that, and the way a lot of people have the tendency to create this wrong idea full of hate of what that entails. And it's so smart and it's so fun, and I love these characters and I love following their journeys, and I'm so emotionally invested. And the fucking ending, I think you can definitely see some of the things that Libba had to take out when editing in order to keep the pacing going. And I don't know, I'm kind of as fascinated about the things that aren't in as I am about the things that are, and this is just a whole emotional journey. And I love it very much, and I cannot recommend it highly enough, even if it's not spooky season anymore. Spooky season is just a state of mind. Just read the series, please. Speaking of series, I finally finished the original Question Trilogy. I read Ruin and Rising by Lee Bardugo. As you can tell, highly enjoyed it. Can't say much because, again, last in a series, so don't want to spoil things. But this is basically a YA fantasy series inspired by Tsarist Russia with elemental magic, and it follows a girl named Alina who's a sun summoner, and she's kind of the only one of her kind, and people are trying to use her and corrupt her and manipulate her, and it's just, again, it's so emotional. Lee Bardugo is doing so much for this world and me personally, and this book just solidifies that. Her writing style is just stunning, and I'm so emotional, and I love her characters, and I love her world, and I love that she operates very much between shades of gray instead of just black and white, and I love that Alina just has this internal struggle. I love this book series so much. There's so much going on, and I know a lot of people really hate this ending, but to me it felt very organic. It felt very much like closing the circle. It had me sobbing by the end because it was just so beautiful, and I really, really, really love this series and this world and Lee Bardugo. So that's that. On the whole short story collection thing, I finally read Ghosts of the Shadow Market by Cassandra Clare, and literally every single author she's friends with, basically. This follows brother Snackariah and his adventures at various shadow markets in the shadow world. If you don't know what the Shadowhunter world entails, at this point, I'm too afraid to even begin to explain. But it's the whole Shadowhunter world created by Cassie Clare, and it's got Brother Zachariah, as I said, at various points in time and space, going to shadow markets, and just his shenanigans there, and the shenanigans of other people that he comes across at the shadow markets. And it's just so good. It's just so good. Again, some stories are better than others, but as a whole, I really loved it, and I loved all the different points in time you got to see, and I loved the little notes to other series that Cassie is going to come up with, and the little teasers, and I just really love this world, and it's just, again, it's very emotional for me. I've been reading these books since I was like 14, 13. I am way older than that. So I'm very emotionally connected. I feel like some stories you can definitely tell they're aimed towards an audience that grew up reading her stories, but isn't necessarily at the teen age, anymore. But I'm in it. I'm here for the long run for Cassie Clare. I really loved the stories in this, and I think she really does. She's basically writing fanfic, you know, for her own work with her best friends. And I respect that. I admire that. I aspire to that. And it's actually stuff I really care about. And I feel like it adds a lot to the source material, if we could call it that. So, love this. I know a lot of people have the tendency to try to stay away from Cassie's novella collections, but I think they always add stuff to the stories, and you can, you know, pinpoint references to other short stories in this, and it's just a good time, you know, you may as well. I also read Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. This has been 10 years in the making. Perks of Being a Wallflower is one of my favorite novels of all time, so I had to read this. I have a blog post, believe it or not, about this, so I will link that down below. But this is basically a horror adult novel from a YA author sensation that just dropped off the face of the literary world for about 10 years, and it's basically Stephen King meets Stranger Things, if those two things were tailored to my preference. I won't say too much because this is already long, and again, have the blog post, but I really like this. It's very strange, it's very weird. It's basically 600 pages of being stressed the fuck out, but in a great way, and it's really endearing, and it's emotional, and it's smart, and I really enjoyed the way Stephen Chbosky analyzes themes such as family, and religion, and trust, and growing up, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful, just read it. I also read In the Key of Code by Amy Lucido. I think this is called Emmy in the Key of Code in the States, and I think it's out on both sides of the pond. I could be wrong. This is one of those strange ones that's kind of middle grade, kind of teen, wouldn't really call it YA. It's written in a verse, and it's about a girl who moves and starts going to a new school and having to make new friends, and she really wants to be a musician type of person because her parents are both musicians, but she's not very gifted at that. But she does start a coding class that she really enjoys, so you kind of have this thing where coding and music intersect, and you can see that in the writing style itself and the way the story is told, and yeah, it's just a really cute, really touching, really heartwarming type of story. I don't know if I'd recommend it to older YA type readers, but for the youngins, it's a really, really nice one. I would say it's more middle grade audience targeted than teen, in my opinion, and I find it easier to sell to that kind of audience, but it's still a really lovely story, so I would recommend everyone check this out. And then on the graphic novel side, I read Pumpkinheads by William Burrell, and this is basically about two teens who have been working at a pumpkin patch for ages, and they've been best friends, and it's their last autumn there because they're going to college, and it's just, it really hit me. It just hit me. It didn't expect it to hit me as much emotionally, or to connect to it as much. I just thought it would be a cute, really heartwarming, tender story about friendship and pumpkin patches and whatever. But no, I really connected with the main guy because he just really fucking loves his job and the pumpkin patch, and he has to go off to stupid college. And you know what? I respect that, man. I respect that sentiment. Yeah, it's just, it's so cute. It's so funny. I love Dilla. I love the two of them. It's really soft and wholesome. And then I read Thor, Thunder in Her Veins, and this follows the female incarnation of Thor, and it's just, it's a lot. I don't necessarily care as much about the whole saving the world bits as I do about Jane Foster as Thor. I love this rendition of Thor. I love her character. In this storyline, basically, she's been suffering from cancer, and she is Thor. So whenever she transforms from Jane Foster into Thor, whatever magic is happening is pretty much stopping the chemo from acting. So she's sacrificing herself and her life and her health to save the world, and I think that's the hero we need. We don't deserve her, definitely, but I love her so much. I love her. I adore this. And yeah, it's funny. It's, you know, action-packed, blah, 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 beautiful artwork. But Jane Foster makes it what it is, basically. And that is it for October for me. I'm also reading Jane Eyre. I'm still not done with that, so I'll talk to you about that at a different point. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go back to my responsibilities and make a cup of tea. Let me know if you read any of these books and what you thought of them. Let me know if you want to read them. Let me know your favorite book of spooky season, etc. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next time.